Alright. Let's do this.
I believe strongly in the rights of women and in the need for a continuing feminist movement. I've been a feminist all my life.
I'm often called a misogynist by various feminists. I think
Chat, you telling me the UK exists? I disagree. I ain't never seen no UK. I ain't never heard no UK, okay? These are crisis actors, alright? No one actually has that accent.
I think there's something very insidious about this new third-wave feminism that we're seeing brewing.
And today, we still need a strong feminist and Me Too movement.
I think the idea of toxic masculinity is a ruse, and I don't think there's anything really substantial when it comes to the pay gap. I think the statistics are skewed.
When I run up against people who fundamentally...
Wait, sorry, how is he standing like this? What posture is this? This is like the kind of posture and camera angle they used in the hit sitcom Malcolm in the Middle. You guys want an emote of this face? One of you make me a PNG of just his head, okay? Oh god. I'm letting it sit still. This is for you to take the screenshot. One of these idiots is in my area. Yeah. Yeah, real Dan Cody. Keep up the ruse that you're from the UK. You're doing it, Darth Gently. Bless you, your heart. He even looks like a bald Frankie Muniz. Oh my god, he does! Holy shit. Quality Chussie clip. Fuck. Ah, jeez. Who needs they Chussie 8? OMG me. Ah, fuck. I look dumb when I smile and or make any expressions with my face.
When I run up against people who fundamentally disagree with me, it's really a question usually of education and of explaining to them that this is a people's movement. Hi, I'm Judy.
Dominic, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, Dominic, why do you think we're here today?
I think we're here to talk about women's issues, and I see...
Did he just air quote? Wait, he did. Look at his hand.
Here to talk about women's issues, and I see...
Women's issues.
The modern feminist movement as pushing victimization as opposed to empowerment. It almost seems, and I'm going to say this from a personal perspective, it almost seems that the idea is to castigate men to a certain degree.
I think that's an old idea.
For instance, the Me Too movement has been almost 100% women, you know? Almost 100%, and then we're getting the little bits here and there. Now, I know a lot of guys who were sexually harassed on a...
True. Yeah, I mean, this is a really good point. So why aren't those guys coming out with their stories? Is it because of a patriarchal idea that men can't be raped? Because that's coming from other men. Not from women, but from other men.
A lot of guys who self-identify as feminists. I think the Me Too movement is a really necessary movement. It's a we too, not just a me too, it's a we too. It's men and women banding together to say that harassment is not okay. Traditionally, it's been more aimed at women because
I don't know about that.
There's more sexual harassment of women.
I don't know about that either.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. I think there's a dual standard here.
Have you been harassed sexually?
I have. I've actually been touched as working in bars. I've had my genitals squeezed. And you know something? In all fairness,
how'd you react?
In all fairness, I didn't mind it.
Was it by a man or a woman?
Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. I was sexually assaulted, but you know what? I liked it, so that's okay. All right. Cool. You know what, dude? If that did it for you, if that's okay with you, then good. I'm glad. But also, it shouldn't be too big of a leap to understand that other people would really not want that to happen. Like, really, really not want that to happen. I know I wouldn't like it if somebody put their hands into my pants. I would not like that at all.
I would have minded it if it was a bloke.
Okay, and what if it
Yeah,
was?
I would have minded it if it was a bloke. Oh, okay, yep. Oh god. Oh fuck. I can't. This one is hard to watch. Like just watch his face. What? Like watch his face. He has a very clippable face too.
Because
I don't know about that.
there's more sexual harassment of women.
I don't know about that either.
Really?
And I tell you why. I think there's a dual standard here.
Have you been harassed sexually?
I have. I've actually been touched as working in bars. I've had my genitals squeezed. And you know something. In all fairness,
how'd you react?
In all fairness, I didn't mind it.
Was it by a man or a woman?
It was by. I wouldn't think the idea
Oh god,
of
no.
2 cents on the dollar.
Tell you, you
Off.
right?
It was
Okay, because how'd you react?
In all fairness, I didn't mind it.
Was it by a man or a woman?
It was by.
The immediate like, what the fuck? Yeah, if a guy had touched my dick, I would have been really upset about it. Like, so many of these guys know that what sexual assault is and how bad unwanted sexual contact is, but they only seem to register it when it's done by other men. He's worked at a bar and doesn't know women are sexually harassed more often. Yeah. Please consider me a UK defector now. Okay. I'm a guy and it was done by a woman. I used to avoid water fountains in high school because I used to get my ass grabbed whenever I drank from them. It sucked. Yeah, no. Like, also, guys, in my experience, from what I've heard from my guy friends, guys don't like being sexually harassed by women either. What generally ends up happening is that the sexual harassment done by women tends to be downplayed by other men in that social circle. You know, it's the kind of like when like a female teacher molests a male student, and like so many men go like, high five, that was awesome, you're so cool, you know, like amazing, that kid probably had the time of his life, you know, like that tends to be a reaction that downplays the severity and the initial like negative feelings about the sexual harassment. So like this guy brought it up in conversation that, well, you know, I have been sexually harassed and like women sexually harassed me, and then he like adds as an afterthought, but you know, I kind of liked it. And that is a result of like social conditioning, because he brings it up because he knows that he didn't like it, but the afterthought is that, well, I kind of liked it, you know, because that's the social, you know, I'm such a masculine man, of course women want to touch my penis. Isn't that part of toxic masculinity? Yes. Toxic masculinity is the idea of male behaviors that are detrimental to men. They're the behaviors that are harmful to men, that are enforced by primarily through other men on other men. Who's that condescending talk show host that says amazing all the time? Jesse Lee Peterson? Yeah, exactly, Recall. You have to like it, otherwise you probably just want men to grope you, you know? Yeah, all my guy friends thought I should enjoy it. Yeah, and that's pretty fucked up.
If it was a bloke.
Okay, and what if it was a bloke?
I would have been pissed off.
Right. Okay, and why would you have been pissed off?
Because it's a bloke.
And
Oh man, he's so close to getting it. He's so close to getting it. Oh fuck. I hope she can get through to him on this.
Why would you have been pissed off? Because you didn't give that person the right to touch you.
Exactly.
And that's what
But
women
what
are
I'm
saying.
saying is this.
You
I
don't
understand
have
that.
the
I
right to
understand
touch
that.
me
I
unless
understand
I
that.
tell you you have the
I
right to touch
understand.
me.
I understand 100%.
That's
But
bottom
what I'm
line what
saying
it's
is
about.
this. Nobody's accusing people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt of sexual harassment. Why are they accusing Harvey Weinstein? Because he's not very attractive and he's morbidly obese.
Oof, I hear this so often, that like it's not real sexual harassment if the guy is attractive, right? That's even like a famous like SNL sketch. And the reality is you can be sexually harassed by very attractive people. And also, yeah, there might be a reason unrelated to how attractive Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt are that people wouldn't come forward about sexual harassment from them, right? Or sexual assault from them, right? Mainly, if you're being sexually harassed by Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio, those are two of the most powerful men in Hollywood. Like, if you piss them off, you're not going to be able to work in that area again, you know? Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio has, like, for years, like, only dated, like, 20-somethings, like, very young 20-somethings, or, like, 18-year-olds. And the reason it takes so long to get these people taken down is because it takes a long time for victims to find each other and realize that this is a long pattern of behavior, and it is only through a collective action against powerful people that you can actually hold them accountable. Like, if one person comes out, it's really easy to squash that and to downplay that. Yeah, it is about power. It is about power. And it just so happens that often people in our society with power have money. And when they have money, it's a lot easier for them to look attractive. So I would actually not be surprised if we looked at the data and found that a lot of people with significant power over others were disproportionately attractive, and that also meant that disproportionately attractive people sexually harassed or assaulted others, right? It's not because they're attractive, it's because of the money and power and influence.
If
No,
it was
because-
Brad
no,
Pitt,
no.
most women would be all over it. Oh, God, come over here, touch me front bottom.
Maybe it's because Brad Pitt hasn't been out there harassing women in the way that
You know
Harvey Weinstein
something,
has.
that's a possibility,
You
but
know?
it's not really a probability, especially in Hollywood the way it is. What I don't want is for men in general to be blamed for what the minority's done.
And I can understand that. It's not a question of blame. It's a question of all of us really understanding.
Yeah, proof it's not attractiveness, Bill Cosby. Absolutely. Absolutely. Though, Bill Cosby's also really interesting because he's out of prison now. That's fucking insane. Bill Cosby is, like, out of prison and, like, living his life on a technicality, and it's insane. He's currently planning a comedy tour. Hot damn. And yeah, it's a power thing. Bill Cosby, for him, all comes down to power and public perception, you know?
What the dynamics have been historically, it's not men versus women, it's men and women.
Obviously, the statistics are that women make 82 cents on the dollar,
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
What are the factors that determine that?
Because traditionally, men have been in the position of deciding what wage is. They are in the power
All right,
position.
so let
They
me
are
give
the
you
bosses.
this. In middle and upper management, most people negotiate their salaries. They do. They go in and say, well, I've got this amount of experience. I'd like this as opposed to that, right? Are you saying that women are just not as good as negotiating their salaries?
A lot of women do have a hard time really negotiating their salaries.
Man, she's giving too much ground to this guy. Because it's not that women intrinsically have a harder time negotiating their salaries. It's that the level of negotiation that they need is often much higher than their male counterparts. You know? That's the truth, right? And the skill of negotiation is much harder for women. For example, if you come across as too aggressive, if you come across as too shrill, they're not going to be inclined to give you that raise. And basically, whenever a woman imposes upon a man in a corporate setting, it's often interpreted as the move of someone who isn't a team player, right? That's why we have situations like the Activision Blizzard thing, where the state had to come and intervene and be like, hey, you are systematically paying your female employees so much less. Yeah, women get looked down upon for being assertive. Case in point, Demon Mama. Demon Mama gets looked down upon for being a loud, assertive woman in this Twitch politics space. And I don't want to point fingers at anyone who is like enabling that, right? Because I don't think it is necessarily on any one individual. Instead, it is a collective perception issue. So yeah, I mean, like a lot of this has to do with our everyday lives.
Because they're in a situation where they're more dependent on a male for the employment opportunities, right?
Okay.
And so you're coming in a one-down position to begin with.
So it is victimization. So what you're saying is you do believe that women are victims, and the whole movement is based on
victimization in the sense of they are treated as less than. Yes, but that doesn't mean that they have
Well, they're treated differently.
But they don't have to remain victims.
How about
Wait, you just said, dude, well, they're treated differently. Yeah, they're treated differently, and that difference in treatment leads to them having worse outcomes in business. That's the thing. Demon Mama spends too much time trying to apologize to Vosh stans. I don't know. I like Vosh. I don't know why you'd need to apologize to Vosh stans. He generally has pretty good takes.
You know, and one of the good things that's happened is that you can no longer ask wage history, okay?
Right.
When you apply for a job, and that's going to help.
I don't know why women just don't start businesses, have Fortune 100 companies, and just hire women in the highest paid positions. I don't know why we have to legislate this. I don't know why we can't just let the market dictate.
Because the market is dictated by men. That's why.
Because the market hasn't been fair. Okay, that's assuming
In what way?
that the market has been fair.
The market has never been fair, my dude. Like, never. The idea of a fair market is one that doesn't exist in capitalism. And if it did, you would hate it. You would hate a fair market if it existed. Who owns the capital? How could a market not be fair? Oh, God.
People should just get together and have these kind of conversations. I think that men and women...
Actually, you know what? I concede all of his points. He's correct on all of them. That is why workers need to band together. Not a woman going off alone and starting her own company, but instead a group of women, a collective of women, coming together to democratically own their own company and thereby harness the power of their social and marketable skills in order to come together and create a business juggernaut that will destroy the capitalist enterprises with its efficiency, with its worker satisfaction, and with its incredibly based products. All right, that's right. Women, don't form your own businesses. Form your own democratic worker co-ops. Workers of the world unite.
work together, and I think women should empower themselves by starting companies, employ women to powerful positions, and lead by example. I don't think the victimization of women through the women's movement is good for anybody, women included.
Right now, it is time to tear down the patriarchy. We're fighting for opportunity. We're fighting to be treated as equals in the workforce and as equals in terms of our relationships with men, to really see that as fundamental to who we are as people. This is not a me movement or a you movement, it's an us movement. And the only way it's going to change on any kind of real fundamental level is when men and women work together to change that. We need this continuing awareness of really, yes, how far we've come, but
you know one of the best ways to get men and women to work together? Democracy in the workplace, bitch.
also how far we've got to go. Welcome to the fight.
Fantastic.
I really enjoyed
I don't think he got into the fight, but okay.
my conversation with Dominic, and I think what we found was that on many issues, we're not all that far apart.
I actually thought that was a cathartic exercise. I really enjoyed the conversation with Judy. I think more than anything, she's a very nice person, and I know she's extremely learned, so I can learn a lot from her.
But I think when he focuses more on what it means for all of us, inclusively, men and women, and how empowering that can really be for all of us, that he's beginning to understand his knuckles don't have to scrape the bottom of the floor quite the way they used to.
I think that a lot more conversations like this should happen between people of polar opinions.
Do the comments are mostly like, how is this guy a misogynist? He thinks men and women should work together. Because he doesn't think women are sexually assaulted. Like, what the fuck? He thought like the reason people don't report sexual assault is because the people who rape them are too attractive. Oh boy. Hey, Necromancer. I'm gonna cope and say that comment was a joke. Unfortunately, yeah. He's not a hater, he's just logical. Jesus fuck. Jesus fuck. These comments are terrible. Dude, logic and common sense. Chick. Ree! Oh boy. He came out of it learning nothing. I mean, I hope he learned something, you know? As just a follow-up, we're gonna follow this up with something a little bit more serious. So, trigger warning. Where was the re? It was in the comments. So, trigger warning for those of you. We're gonna watch an account of sexual assault, and this happened local to me, and the reporting on it is done by Unicorn Riot, which is a fantastic anarchist news source in my local area. But this is a story about a woman who was sexually assaulted in 2019, and essentially what ended up happening was her assaulter has gone free for time served, and yeah, we're gonna talk about this a little bit. All right, so there is going to be some yikesy content, but as keep this in mind: the man that raped her accepted a plea bargain today for criminal sexual conduct in the 5th degree, non-consensual sexual contact. The deal allows for the rapist to execute his sentence with time served, meaning he doesn't have probation and won't serve jail time. He was sentenced to 365 days in jail, but given time served after receiving credit for a recent prison stint from a separate drug sentence. Along with no jail time specific to the sexual assault on Allie and no probation, the plea deal signed today by the perpetrator also means he won't have to register as a sexual predator or be charged with rape. He was assessed a $130 fine after having $75 for his public defender waived. In response to this, the victim said, "I wish I had time and space to process and grieve this ending, but it has been 926 days since he raped me. The world moved on then and is moving on now. I have to too. I tried." Again, trigger warning. This is going to be some title change time. Yeah, probably. All right. Sexual assault apparently is not an acceptable title term. Assault? There we go. All right. Trigger warning essay. Yeah, that might be better. I'm going to leave it at assault. I think essay leaves it too open to interpretation. But here we go. All right. Hey, Furson.
What
9.
led me to want to be sitting here
Trigger warning for this, by the way.
talking about it was when I learned what the state was asking for as his sentencing. They want 2 years probation.
Are you sure? You consent? I consent. Yeah, my name is Ali, and I love that. He's my man forever, and we're gonna do it like it never been done before.
My name is Allie. I am sharing my story as a sexual assault survivor in the hopes that me speaking up will allow people who speak up after me to see the justice and be granted the safety that they deserve. In the month of March of 2019, a man that I had become friends with raped me, and he took a video of me before doing so that narrated his intention and his acknowledgement of my state of not being able to provide consent, and then sent it to me the next day.
And he sent me this text message with this video saying, "You were so fucking cute last night." And this video shows me doing exactly as I had intended on doing, which was passing out on top of his covers or on top of his bed stuff, fully clothed, not having sex for sure, but also, you know, just fucking getting some sleep. Or trying to, at least, until he, of course, pretends to talk for me and is saying, "You sure? You sure you consent?" One of my eyes rolls out of my head, like after my eyelid opens, and then closes, and he takes my mouth in my hand, or in his hand, and pretends to talk for me, saying, "I consent." The next morning, I woke up, and I was naked, and my clothes were on the floor, and dude was getting up, getting ready for work. He and I both started work at the same time, which was like around 1 p.m. And I look on the floor and there's like an empty condom wrapper. I almost like didn't allow myself to really think about it too much at first because like for plenty of weird subconscious reasons, along with the fact of like I'm running late for work, I can unpack this if I even want to, like at my desk. I just need to focus on not losing my job. He was my supervisor. He had been like trying to hang out with me, and I was 24 at the time, and I think he was like 44 or something at the time.
And then a week later, I decided that I should go to the police. How I approached it with the police officer I spoke to is I said, I just need to tell you what happened, and I want to know if I have a case, because I don't want to go through the heartache of this if I don't. I explained what happened to me, and he was paying attention, but it seemed like an obligation to remain attentive until I mentioned the video and showed him the video. And I watched his pupils dilate when he watched the video. And he took a deep breath and he said, yeah, you have a case. And
it's really, really sad to me that we have no method in our society, in our justice system right now, that can keep women safe if there's not like video evidence of a confession or of it happening. And it's just, it's heartbreaking, you know, like it. And even when there is video evidence of a confession or video evidence of it happening, even then, these guys don't go to prison. These guys, like, again, Bill Cosby's out of prison. This guy's out of prison. And he raped not only this woman, but another woman as well. Like, Jesus. I work with survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence, hear these stories all the time, every day, multiple times per day, and every single one sucks this much. Yeah. Yeah, remember Brock Turner. The Brock Turner case. It's honestly more fucked up what happens if there is clear evidence. I mean, yeah, I guess I believed the line from a lot of people growing up that they genuinely hated rape. You know, like rape is really bad, and like I would fucking kill a rapist. Like, but like nobody holds rapists to account. You know, nobody. Our justice system doesn't do that.
Gave me the option of whether or not I wanted to investigate it, which on one hand I'm very grateful for. It allowed me to feel in control of a situation that resulted from me not being in control. But in hindsight, that was probably the first indicator, aside from the fact that the purpose of me going to the cops was like, is this enough? Like, is this video of someone narrating their intent to rape me enough? But in hindsight, I mean, the police's job is to investigate crime. I mean, in many situations, like, that is their obligation. And I told him no. I told him I thought about it. And the only thing that kept me hung up was like, I should do the right thing in case this happens to someone else. I didn't have it in me to kind of fight for this, and that I preferred to handle it on my own however I saw fit. And that's how I would heal. And that ultimately this man's actions were not my obligation, you know.
Chat, I know emotions are really high right now. Again, you can't break TOS in chat, okay? Just a reminder.
I can't hold myself accountable for this man's actions. That's A, what he is supposed to do, and B, what the law is supposed to follow up on if he doesn't. I ended up leaving that job, but I had a friend that still worked there, and in August of that same year, 2019, they messaged me, they texted me and said that dude had just gone to jail after being arrested and having his cubicle searched and basically turned upside down. And he had been charged for drug charges as well as for assaulting someone else. And the guilt that I felt in that moment, it took my breath away. It was kind of like my worst fear. In that moment, I knew that I never wanted to stay silent again.
You know, like when something is fucked and like your kind of instinct is to like fix it or like change stuff to make it not happen again. That's kind of where I'm at with this. Of like, I can't change the past. I can't change what happened. I can't change that night. And like, I can't change the fact that it happened to someone else after me. But like, the longer I sit and like still not do anything, like sure, I'm reporting it. Oh, that's the other thing. They slapped him with charges for 5th degree sexual assault, which is for taking my clothes off without my consent. Nothing about the actual rape.
What the shit? He confessed on camera.
Intent is clear. You have video evidence, both of the intent as well as my inability to provide consent or keep my eyes open. Fuck. Unfortunately, it's not about proving intent. The way that the laws are currently written, it's about proving that it happened. This form of crime is expected to have the same proof of evidence about something that is deliberately done in private. And the burden of the proof isn't on the investigator necessarily, it's on the victim, it's on the survivor. And finding flaws in the argument is using the victim. It's never about, what about this alleged rapist, assaulter, whatever, seems to fit the bill. It's always about, what reasons do we have on the victim's medical history, their verbal history, their friendships, relationships. What about their relationship with their parents? What medications are they on? That could discredit them going through all of these hoops to receive a fucking 5th degree sexual assault charge. Especially with this video, it's like being punched in the middle of a busy street and no one acknowledging that it happened or believing you that it happened. Apparently, sexual assault is currently some intricate lock that only one key fits as far as evidence goes. On one hand, the laws need to change, and people are trying. And if this bill passes through the House and makes it through the Senate, it would make such a big difference. The House bill has a number of...
Lady Raincloud, we're watching some potentially triggering material about a Minnesota woman who was raped, and her rapist has been allowed to go free for time served and doesn't have to register as a sexual predator. This is in my state. It's very troubling, very, very sad. And she has video evidence of her rapist, like, confessing that his intent to rape her. But it didn't matter. So, yeah. Yeah, no, that's what the trigger warnings are for. Yeah.
changes to it, from our current law to what it's proposing, as well as introducing new verbiage and a new law, a sexual extortion law. Because right now there's what's called the intoxication loophole, as we learned about recently, that if someone is intoxicated, apparently they hold culpability for what people do to them.
What?
But that's going to change. This bill changes the definition of mentally incapacitated.
That's insane. How? Is that real? Yes. This is my state. Fuck.
Person was drunk, and this person was
Mentally incapacitated means that a person under the influence of alcohol, narcotic, anesthetic, or any other substance administered to that person without the person's personal agreement lacks the judgment to give reasoned consent. That a person is under the influence of an intoxicating substance to a degree that renders them incapable of consenting.
mentally impaired from any of a number of ways, and there is significant reason to believe that the person who assaulted them.
And then there's the voluntary intoxication defense. The knows or has reason to know mental state requirement for violations involving a complainant who is mentally incapacitated involves specific intent for purposes of determining the applicability of the voluntary intoxication defense described in section blah blah blah. This defense may be raised by a defendant if the defense is otherwise applicable. Wow. All right.
Knew that. It's first degree. And I know that there's a lot of changes within the bill as well, as far as sexual assault of vulnerable adults as well as children.
There's this assumption that women should just like assume they're gonna get raped, and so they should do things to reduce those odds.
Rape is seen as an unfortunate thing that happens behind closed doors that we'll never know much about and not know the full story. But that's only because we're not listening to the survivors and considering why they might be right instead of why they might be lying or wrong, or my personal favorite, why they didn't necessarily deserve it, but they probably could have prevented it.
Yeah, the equivalent of the why didn't you just get in your Gundam to defend yourself? Jesus fuck. My heart is breaking for this woman.
By their clothing, by their how much they drank, how much they knew the person, where they were, what time it was, how they were acting. It doesn't matter. And it's so important to remember that anger at the rapist and not suspicion of the victim. And I want to make something very clear. This story, my story, this man, none of this is unique. This happens all the time. The only thing that's unique is I feel that I have a tool to actually paint the picture with the video, with talking about it. I want that video, my video, to serve not as like my face, but of the face of whoever you're hearing speaking about this, because not a single person that I've shared that video with has asked for that context. Because once you see it, it's clear that none of those questions matter, because they don't, and they never have. Without any sort of change in education and understanding the true meaning of consent, we're still going to have issues, because you don't accidentally rape someone. You don't. You don't. You don't.
On June 30th, 2021, all of the sexual assault reforms that Allie spoke about were passed, along with the appropriations towards survivor programs and the creation of a task force on missing and murdered African American women. I mean, that's good, but given the outcome of her particular case, still, this is disappointing as hell. It's 1 in 5 lot of apples. Unicorn Riot are good people. For anyone who needs access to support services, if you watch that video and it's bringing up some stuff, there are, if you scroll down the page, there are a bunch of support services down here that you can make use of. Yeah, I didn't even consider the possibility that he could walk away with less than the already bullshit plea bargain of 2 years probation. Yeah, the stories like this, I know they're really, really difficult to listen to hear, to grapple with. But when we're talking about, you know, feminism and sexual assault, and like we're looking at like this guy being like, you know, it's fine. We need to keep in mind that there are real faces to these problems. That there are real people who are suffering the consequences of that denialism, you know? That women currently do face the consequences of that, and men currently do face the consequences of that, and non-binary trans folks face the consequences of this. Like, this is stuff we need to fix. I never went to the police with mine, so I know the stat is underreported at some level. Oh yeah, it's hella unreported. I know several of my friends who have been sexually assaulted and have not gone to the police because, frankly, sometimes reporting it to the police can be almost as bad as the experience itself. And they know that because they've been assaulted multiple times. So, yeah. That's an important story about how society treats women who've been sexually assaulted, how society treats rape victims, how society treats rapists currently, and we need to do better. We need to do better. After what had just happened, it's too much. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to be put through the rigor. And, like, some people might be like, well, why didn't she just report it right after? Why didn't she just go to the police immediately? Well, because she was just raped. If you were just raped, would you know immediately what to do? Most people don't. No one's trained in how to deal with going through that experience. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, and there's shock, you know, mental shock. Prevents you from doing a lot of things. Yeah, and most people, like, the gathering of evidence for the satisfactory proof that you have been raped is also invasive. And Big Orange Jew, just keep in mind you're in good company, okay? Because we've covered this topic before, and I know a lot of people in the community have been through similar experiences. So it's important for all of you to know, none of you are alone in this community, okay? A lot of people have been through similar circumstances and are here to support you and to help you, okay? Yeah, most survivors I meet are 2 to 7 days post-assault. You get lost in a haze trying to figure out exactly what happened, how to react to it. I haven't even told IRL people I love. It's really hard. You feel lucky. Yeah. This is safe, and I want all of you to feel safe. And, like, all of you can share your stories and get help, okay? Hey, Chaotic Kitten. How you doing? Octes, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. All right, let's... I have one more React video. How are you? We just covered a very triggering video on assault, so I'm close to tears, but you know what? We'll get through it. The fact that the gathering of evidence and so on in this field is so invasive, and you sadly cannot change that, at least not entirely, also means cops and medical professionals need to do way better in these fields. Yeah.